Hi, my name is Paul. So today I'll be taking us through the demo, showing us how um, I built the CICD pipeline from scratch. And also, before now, I have already um, done all the necessary process with creating a runner. The runner I have created here, I'll show us the runner just a minute. And this is the runner. It's open. It's online. So I would also show us all my repository which I have already which I have already committed to my local repository from my remote repository. So this these are the files. This contain the script for the bash. This contain the WordPress application, and this contains the Terraform, Terraform script. So now I would go over to my build. Yeah, I would start editing the pipeline from the pipeline editor. Configure pipeline. So these are just normal default um, scripts that are here. I would just remove them. I'll remove everything here. So I will start. First of all, the pipeline comes in stages. So every pipeline must have stages of processes. So defining, we will need to define the execution process of the pipeline. So this will give us which will give us the process that will go through in everything in all the build process, and also the deployment process, the health check, the test. So first of all, I will just type stages. So next, I would I'll start with the first stage, which is the validate. So there is an indentation error here. Okay. The next one is infrastructure. Infrastructure. Okay. So the next one we would have here is the health check. So the validate, first of all, we would check for the all the codes we've had, and check for the readiness of all the resources we are going to deploy, and the infrastructure provisions Docker infrastructure with Terraform. So the next one is health. Excuse me. Health check. Health check. Health check. Health check. Okay, this would um this would check for the services if they are actually up and usable. So the next one we are going to have is the deploy. I need to get the indentation very very well. So we don't run into error. So what next we have here is deploy. So deploy would deploy WordPress application. So the next we'll have is test. Test would validate the deployment if the deployment works. So the last one, which is going to be the cleanup. This cleanup is to optionally destroy everything we've created, all the resources we've deployed. It would clean it up and just remove everything. So every every script Terraform pipeline scripts YAML script would have a variable. This global variable is used to prevent hard coding path everywhere. So like trying to avoid passwords exposure and credential exposure. So you use variable to structure those changes and it will only come up, it will only represent those parameters. And so we're going to use variables here. Variables. So the first variable we're going to use here is Terraform. So the Terraform variable would have infra. Infra is of the the directory for the Terraform scripts where we have the Terraform script. So the infra is the directory there. So the next variable we're going to have is scripts directory. So in this script directory, we would have the bash script, which we already have in our repository. So the bash script is what we are going to put here. So the next one we're going to have is project roots directory. So the project root directory, we're going to have the OPT as a directory for all our files. The directory we committed from our local repository down to from our remote repository down to our local repository. So we're going to put the path to that directory, Devop-project. So the next thing we're going to do is start our stages. So the stages, we're going to start with the validate, which is the first stage. Let me do that here. So the validate would I would like to have it the name here as validate Terraform. So the stage for this validate would be would be the stage for this validate name is the validate rather. So I would put the stage as validate. So this validate stage, it picks up it is picked up by the runner. So now we have the tags. The tag would be the tag would be deployment because we have our runner. Tags essentially is the sectionalization or content is a way of separating runners. If you have multiple runners in your environment and you want to have a particular runner run this pipeline and these stages, you can have multiple runner run a pipeline. So for this particular stage, we'll have the deployment, which is a tag for our runner which we deployed. So the runner would pick up this stage and start running all the deployment and all the um, jobs in the stage. So the next thing we would have here is the script. The script is essentially the jobs. So now we would give an echo is basically passing a message. So I want to give an echo to this script. So this script will have an echo here. An echo here. This echo will be validating Terraform configuration. So this echo will start pass the message before start to run the jobs. So the next one would be um it will be running moving into the Terraform directory. That will be cd. Remember we have our variables. So each time we want to run some path within the within the pipeline, we don't have to put the exact path. We can just put the variable which would represent that path. So now we would have the root. So this will seed into the root directory and down to the Terraform directory. So this this would cd there, and the next thing we'll do is Terraform init. This would initialize the Terraform without configuring the backend. So we'll do Terraform init hyphen backend false equals to false. So we'll do Terraform turn off caps log. So Terraform init backend equals to false. So essentially, Terraform backend is where Terraform saves and looks up the state file. So the record of what Terraform is ready to create is on the back end. So we don't want to have this back end. So next thing we would have to do here is Terraform validate. So the Terraform validate checks for syntax and internal logic. Terraform validate. So this check for any syntax or internal logic if there is any syntax problem. If this fails, the configuration is going to be invalid. So we're going to put the next one here as we are going to have an echo here. This we're going to have an echo message here saying that checking the Terraform formatting. So it's going to check for the Terraform formatting if the Terraform formatting is in order. Checking the Terraform formatting. So this would be the message. Then now we would have the Terraform format. That's the Terraform format ensures that Terraform files follow a standard Terraform format. Check. So if this checks, it should have an echo. An echo. This echo would, excuse me. This echo would tell us the if the formatting is wrong or if the jobs fails. So echo file will be um Terraform files need formatting. This formatting. Now we are going to run Terraform format. Infra. So we are running the Terraform format in the infra directory. So, and we'll commit the changes, then we'll exit changes. So the and button is just an extension of the instruction we're given. So it's going to run this and this. So here. So the next excuse me again. So the next command we're going to run here is another echo. So this echo will be validating for the success of this it should be confirming for the success of this particular instruction we have given. So we are going to have the echo as Terraform validates. Validation passed. So this is this is what we are going to have for the Terraform. So we are going to have uh, the uh, the main, like it's going to run this on the main branch. So not the branch, it's going to run it on um the main branch. So and it only runs it on the main branch, not on a merge request. So we're going to do this here. merge request. So the merge request job, only this, it will allow the job to run only on the main branch and during a merge request. So if there is a merge request, that is when this particular job is going to run. So it doesn't run in any other branch this, except the main branch. So, so we're going to have after this, we're going to have another stage for the validate. Having a syntax error. From here. So we're going to have another part of validate scripts. Validate scripts. So the stage for this script is the for this particular pipeline, it's going to be still validate. So the tag will be deployment, like I explained initially. That tags is meant for the runner to essentially separate the runner from from other runners. So if you require a particular runner to run a job or a stage, it's rather a stage, it will only work with this runner. So we have multiple runner in my environment. I have multiple runner in my environment already. So I just don't want to have all the runner running this. I just want a particular runner to run this. So we're going to have this script which contains the jobs that are going to be run here. Okay, this is happens to be scripts. Okay, that's scripts. So now we are going to have one another echo. This echo would just give us the log message of what it's going to validate here. So we're going to have an echo validating validating share script. So the essential need for this echo is just to give us messages during when the scripts are being run, to give us messages to know what's going on, why the scripts are running. So we are going to seed into the script directory, the bash script. So we will now seed into the bash script directory. Project, that is, we have it as project. I think that should be from here. We have it as project. To move from the root to the project script here. So let me just copy this. So we'll now go to this one here. This is the amazing thing about having variables. So now the next thing we're gonna do is for script um we're giving a loop command. So for scripts, this loop command would check for each file that has the .sh, that is the bash file we already have in our repository, to check for every file that has .sh in this repository, and once it finds it, it will do the following. So we're going to ask it to do the following. Echo, it's going to echo checking script. So checking script. So once it checks for the script we we have already specified. So next thing we're going to do is bash. So if there is no script, if there is no script executed, syntax only. Like if it checks for the syntax error using the bash.n and no script is executed, the script fails, so the pipeline stops. So that's why we have the hyphen n here. So we're going to have the script apply. This is just to exit with a value 1. So it will give us um done. So this should be essentially what we are going to have in this script. So this script would like I said, this script would check for all the .sh file. So the .sh file, this one, and it will do the following. So first of all echo checking the script, just a message. Then the next thing it will do is it will run the bash dot hyphen n script, and if it runs the script when it finds it, it will now exit. So in that loop again, the sh file for syntax, if it checks for any syntax error during when it's trying to look for the .sh file, if it goes to the .sh file and it sees an error during um, checking for this .sh file, it will not run the script, and once it doesn't run the script, it will run only a syntax. Like a syntax will come telling us maybe the script fails, and if that is seen, the pipeline would stop automatically. So if but it should if this is done, it would echo all scripts validated. So all the script validated, that's what's going to echo. Validated. So again, we're still going to have the only this only will just specify the the jobs should be run only on the main branch or on a merge request. So now moving on, we are going to move on to the next stage, which is the provisioning. So provisioning is going to provision the Docker. It's going to provision the Docker infrastructure using Terraform. So we'll start a new stage, and we'll give the name of this stage provision infrastructure, provision underscore infrastructure. So So we have the stage here as infrastructure. Like we have here, this is a stage. So just paste this here. So now what we're gonna do this was so what we're gonna do, we're gonna have the tags like we usually do. The tags would be deployment. So the next thing we're gonna have is the jobs, and we start the jobs with script. So the script, the first thing we're gonna have on the script is an echo command, to tell us that the yes, we are starting the infrastructure provisioning. So starting the infrastructure provisioning. The infrastructure provisioning. So after that, we'll now have the cd command. Again, we're going to cd to the Terraform directory now. So we'll cd from the root. This is the root directory. We'll cd from the project root. Let's go root. Now we'll now go to Terraform directory. So now do the Terraform initialization. So this initialize Terraform and provides the backend. Excuse me. This initialize Terraform and provides the backend. Terraform init. So the next we are going to have the Terraform plan and alt-tf plan. So Terraform plan generates and executes Terraform plan tf plan. So this essentially generates and executes the plan and save it into a file. So it ensures that um, we apply is predictable. So it's it's it shows us what we are going where we're trying to apply, like what we are going to deploy. It shows us the plan of what we are going to deploy, and it saves it in the file. So the next step is going to be the Terraform apply and auto approve. So Terraform apply auto approve auto approve the TF plan. So this is just auto approving the plan that we have in the first in this upper side of the script. So this would apply the exact plan without any manual approval. So it will apply the plan without any manual approval. So the next thing we're going to just have here is echo The next thing we're gonna have here is just echo showing. This echo will be telling us that the infrastructure is provisioned. Infrastructure is provisioned. So the next thing we're going to have here is we'll have the Docker PS. So we'll be verifying the container. So let's just have an echo to tell us that we are verifying the containers were created. So now we are going to have the Docker PS. This would be listing the running container in a readable format, in a readable table. So we'll have the Docker PS format table. So this will give us the names of the container. The next thing we're gonna have here is the next thing we're gonna have here is the T. That's the table. That's the first table. The second table is dot status. That's the status of the container, just the way it shows when we are running the Docker PS on the machine. So the next table is going to be the ports. So this would show us all the format of the containers we are running in the um, we are running that is already created actually. So this would show us the containers in this format. So the last thing we're going to have here is one last echo. This will just echo um, the the format here. So next thing we're going to have is the artifact. So this is a this is a Terraform file that is the state files and the log file for the jobs. So this artifact it's having the state file. The state file essentially is a file that tracks all the resources Terraform manages, like the web server we've created, the database. So we're going to just start with running artifacts. Okay, we want to have paths instead. So the path will be Terraform. Okay, this this should not be when success. Just need to finish up this code first. This script Terraform. So this would show us the path where we would save the Terraform state file and the log file. So once this state file is created, it locks it for to prevent any um any further modification. So it's it's going to create a state file that tracks all the resources that are created. So that state file is going to be locked. So I did not put this space here. So we're gonna have the same thing here, but in this particular folder, we're gonna have the terraform.log. This is going to create the file .log.hcl. So in this expires, it will expire in 1 day. We'll set it to expire in 1 day. So this the number of day that the Terraform state will be. It will stay for just 1 day. So the this is what we have for the Terraform artifact. So the next we're going to have here is the rules. This is the rules that will give us additional run for the it will automatically run the commit message contains the infrastructure. So it will the commit when we're running this this CICD, it will run the CI commit. So we're gonna write the rules to run the CI commit. So the rules first rules is if the CI commit message equal to infrastructure. 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 So the next would be to when when this happens it when this happens always, this means that when you run the commit message and it contains infrastructure, when this happen always, we expected to have it to be manual. So would have it to be manual. So when this CI is going to run during the commit, when we run the commit changes, it's going to be on a manual trigger. So this would be so the we're gonna write one more command to stop the pipeline if the provisioning fails. So this is just a precaution to stop the pipeline. If the provision fails, we're going to leave it to false, have it as false. So next we're going to have the next stage. The next stage we're going to have here is the health checks. So from here you see that we have completed the validate the infrastructure. We are going now to the health check. So the health check is the next stage we're going to have here. So I would give the name as health check. Health check. So the health checks now check for it will essentially check for the services to confirm if they are actually up and usable. So this is going to check for the services. Now we're gonna have the stage name here, stage which is also health check. The next one we're gonna have is a tax payment. Now we have the script. So the first script we're going to run here is the echo command. This echo will be checking for the service health. We're just gonna pass a message to let us know the service health. So checking service health. Then the next command we're gonna run is the bash script we have in the repository. So we're going to run the bash command. Not space here. We're going to run the bash command. So this bash command is in our script, which we have as in directory the svc script. So, and in this svc script we have the file name svc health check. Check.sh. Now, you're just going to have one echo to tell us that all the services are healthy when this is done. All the services, all the services are healthy. So this is just going to tell us all the services are healthy. So again, we're going to have needs. So the needs here is to allow the job to run even the provisioning was manual. So this is just the need. So the the health check is going to run this job even if the infrastructural provisioning is manual. So we have the initial stage we have, which is the infrastructure was a manual trigger. So and the next stage is going to run the health check. So we are just telling the script that we need this to run, allow this to run even if provisioning was manual. So initially CICD is supposed to be an automated process, but since we have a manual trigger and which is for precaution, So we are just still going to tell the next stage that is going to run that allow this to run. Why? Even if the provisioning of the infrastructure was on a manual basis, so it's not supposed to be interrupted initially. I just realized that I misspelled the infrastructure in one place. So the next thing we're going to run here is optional. That's true. Okay. So we're still going to have the only run. uh, So this is done for the health check. So the next line of script you're gonna run here is the deploy the application. The next stage you're gonna have is the deploy. The deploy is going to deploy. It's going to deploy the WordPress application that we have in our repository. It's going to take it up and deploy it. So in this sense, we're going to be having the scripts that we already have in our repository that contains deployment, the bash script that contains deployment. So the first thing we're going to do is give it a name, deploy underscore application. The stage would be deploy, and the tags would be deployment. So the script you're going to run here is this. We're going to run the first script as an we'll run an echo. This echo would just tell us that we're deploying is a message, like it's always has been a message to tell us that we are deploying the WordPress application. Deploying the WordPress application. So next we're going to seed into the directory where we have the script. We're going to seed into opt Devop-project. So now when we cd there, we would now have the bash script. We'll now run the bash script from there. This is where we have the script for this is directory for the script. Now this is the file that contains the script. So deploy.sh. So the next thing we're going to do is write an echo message that the application has been deployed. Application deployed. Deployed. So now we're going to have the needs the needs now will be done nice. What I mean by the needs is going to be the needs for health check to be performed. So this ensures that deployment only happens when the health check is complete. So this is the needs health check. So this health check is like I said, it checks for the readiness of if the applications are usable and they are actually valid to be used. So now we have the only main. So the next stage we're going to have here is the test deployment. So we're going to test the deployment. We're going to test the deployment. So this stage essentially will test the deployment of the application we have here. So to ensure that the application are yeah, they works, like the deployment works. So this would give us the assurance that we can proceed to the next stage. If this doesn't work, it would also throw an error. So um, now we would have the name of this stage as the name as test deployment, test underscore deployment. We're gonna have the stage as test. We have test already. We have the tags, deployment, script, which contains the jobs. The first thing I'm gonna have here is excuse me. So the first thing I'm gonna have here is an echo command. Echo. I'm gonna say I'm running deployment test. Running deployment test. So this would this would display the message. So the next thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna run some couple of echo echo testing testing the server accessibility. So this will test the server accessibility. So we are testing the server. Server accessibility. So now we'll run some couple of commands. These commands will start with the HTTP code. The HTTP code stores and return the HTTP status code in a shell variable. So we're going to run the HTTP code. This is the HTTP code, and we'll have the call. The call runs silently, so it runs it silently without a progressed output. So this is going to run the call. This is the S silent, and this is we're going to run hyphen O. So the next thing we're going to have here is the dev. That's the dev / no. This discards the response body. So it discards the response body, and so it doesn't show the HTML. So we're going to have it as hyphen. We're going to have the next one is hyphen in W, and then this tells the call which you have initially as that the output is only HTTP status code. So it doesn't show any other response but the HTTP status code. Now we're gonna write this as HTTP code. So we're gonna have the HTTP localhost. This localhost is the URL pin to be tested. So this is the URL to be tested, and we are gonna have /localhost. All right, so we're gonna have a loop. So this loop would essentially exit the code. So if the HTTP code returns, so this loop is gonna be just like this. If HTTP code returns 200, so I'm gonna have it in a quote. So we're gonna have a pi. This pi essentially this pi essentially gonna give us another loop. It's gonna tell us the second option for that initial statement we made. HTTP code if it is equal to 320 302 rather. So I'll put this inside the quote. So this when this run is gonna give us 10. This is more like telling us what happens if this happens, then this will happen. This echo when this happens, echo web test path. So like when this thing happen, when this the loop happens, it's going to echo. We're going to have a message to pass web server. So, and we're going to have another. The loop always has two sides of it. Else echo web server tests failed. So then we will now exit with um we now exit with the error code of 1. So and that would be exit 1. So now we will have if this is going to check for variable that is empty, the fi. Then now we would go to the allow C. So we have another the test we're going to run here. We echo it as test. We have the message here as testing database connectivity. So we are going to test the database connectivity here. So the command to do that is web container. So essentially the command detects whether the web server container is running. If it is not running, the pipeline stops to make the deployment more robust. So the fail happens when something is wrong. So it doesn't just happen. So that is why it is called a test. We are testing for all this, resources we have here. So the next thing you're going to have here is we're going to list the we're going to install the container variables. So we're going to have it as web container document. So we list all the running container filter. So we want to filter to restrict the list of container to the one that has name web server. So I want to write a filter here as name equal to web server. So we put the format here. Also have a format. This format only shows outputs of the container names. Format dot names. And one. So we are gonna have another loop like we did on the first one. If if this loop is gonna have the container check, it's gonna check the container if the variables are empty, the variables listed above are empty. So this would be z web container so when this if runs, it's gonna have an echo which we are going to display the web container was found or was not found, but in this case we're gonna say web container was not found. If the loop runs and did not find the web container, so once it doesn't find the web container, it's going to exit with an error code 1, then the fi. So the next command we are going to run here is the docker exec. So this, docker exec. So this particular command executes the PHP inside the container. Docker exec. Web container PHP. So it executes the PHP inside the container. It runs a command to execute the PHP inside the container. So um, now the next thing we're going to run here is we're going to run the um, we're going to run the SQL MySQL connect. So I'm going to have it as link MySQL connect. So we are connecting the MySQL. We're trying to host the DB. So we are giving it some credentials. So we are going to give it some of the credentials like the username and password. So we're going to do connect DB. This is the database name. Separate it with a comma. Put the username. Separate it with a comma. Now put the password for the user. Separate it with a comma. Then the last one is the name of the WordPress. Well, I'm gonna have the WordPress here. WordPress. Okay. So this is done. We're gonna have the another loop again. So we're going to have the loop. So would um, this loop would tell us if the connection fails, it will print an error. So this would give us this link echo database. So we're going to print an echo message telling us that the database connection failed. So the database connection failed. MySQL, MySQL connect error. So it's going to exit with the error one. So we're going to print another echo again. This echo essentially telling us that the database connection was successful. So we would initially have a loop command. So we're gonna have two side of the possibility. My SQLi close exit. So we are having kind of syntax error here. It's showing us incorrect string. Incorrect string. Okay, I'm trying to see where this error came about. we we're supposed to have. So I was able to fix this by putting the correct string here. Now we'll proceed to um, the needs. I have the needs here. The needs. Okay, the needs is gonna be deploy application. So this is only gonna deploy in the main branch. Okay. So now we're gonna go to the next stage, which is the cleanup. So the cleanup will clean everything we've created. Okay. So the cleanup is going to get all the resources and all the everything we've created in the Terraform and then destroy them. But it's going to happen manually. It's not going to happen It's not going to happen automatically. So the reason is because when we deploy resources, we deploy it from cloud essentially. So most times this require some subscription, so we don't have to just destroy it without ensuring that we deleted the right or what we need to destroy. So we need to ensure that we destroy the proper resources that we don't need. So infrastructure. Okay. So stage would be cleanup. Now the tags will be deployment. Now we have the script. First of all, pass the message echo. This is telling us that we are destroying the infrastructure, destroying infrastructure. Next thing we're going to seed into the project root on the Terraform directory. Project root. Terraform. So the next thing we're going to do the Terraform init to initialize this Terraform init to initialize the Terraform before destroying. So even before destroying, Terraform will initialize this the resources before we destroy. So init so this I think it will inherit. Okay, I didn't do the indentation very well here. Now we would have the Terraform destroy. This removes all the Docker resources created earlier. So this would destroy all the Docker resources. Destroy auto approve. Now we'll pass a message here, echo infrastructure destroyed. After this has run, destroyed. So this will be a manual trigger. So we don't want to do it as automatic, so it doesn't just delete the resources just like that. We want to give confirmation that it's an intentional deletion, so we don't prevent it to be accidental. So now we have to give a command you have to give it to be manual trigger manual. So this will happen. I want confirmation. This will happen on the main. So this how this contains all the script we need for our CI/CD pipeline. I'll go over it from the top to the last one. So in the first stage, we have our stages. The stages contains the validate, the infrastructure, the health check, the deploy, and the test and cleanup. So the next thing we have is our variables. Variables are they are just replacement of these values here, the infra, the CSV script, the CSV6 script, and this root directory. So this places them instead of having them um, having them the in the um, in the script exposed as it is. So we are going to replace them with variables. So the next thing we have is the first stage, which is the validate. So we have the validate stage, which validates the configuration, which we have the Terraform configuration. So the next thing we have here was the next stage we had here was the health check. Yeah, the health check checks for the health of the services to be deployed. So if they are actually usable and if they are actually available. So the next one we have here is the test deployment. So the test deployment, if you run the test on the web server and on the database. So this run a test on the web server and on the database. And we also have a couple of loop commands telling us if this happens, this should happen. So we already have all this in place. So we have also have running the Docker and the Docker container, that is the Docker exec, which is running the PHP web server. So the web server, we gave this web server a name, the user password, and also we gave the WordPress name. So the database, we have echo command that is displaying what happens in the database if an error comes up. So and we also have an echo command showing us that the database, if the database connection is successful, this will happen to close. So if the database fails, it closes, it exists, and if it's successful, it also exits. So and this needs to deploy the application. This essentially deploys the web server, the WordPress. So now we have the infrastructure cleanup. This cleans up the resources we've created, all the resources we've created. So I think we have all we have the test, the deploy. The deploy is here. This deploy the web application. This deploy the WordPress application. So this test the deployment, and the last one is to clean up. So we are going to just click on commit changes and see where this gets us. So if we face an error, we'll troubleshoot the error and see how the pipeline runs. Our runner is still up. Need to check that right away. Let's see if this runner is still working. Okay, the runner is online. So we have our first error here. We need to see what this error is. So it says that failed to pass command line flags. Flag provided but not defined. Not defined. So we need to check for go to pipe Terraform. Okay, and see what we did if we actually have the it set correctly. Okay, yeah, this is what caused it. So run this again. Okay, we have another field. So we're going to review this again. Let's see what this says first of all. Okay, the project. So there is no such. Uh, so this doesn't see. It's showing us that the this is running here. Okay, so this is the error. See from here the repository that was created by Git runner by default was initialized. So and this was the build that was here in this part. So the the error failed from this place where we had the CD to this project root in line 166. So this is where we where we have the error. So an exit with error code 1. Now we would have to check this error, and let's go to the editor. So we'll go through the codes or we'll go through the script we have here. So we have the validate, infrastructure, health check, and deploy and test and clean up. So this happened in the first stage, essentially the second sub stage. So this is for the validate. So we have the validate here, the first validate, which actually went through. This was this had this went to the Terraform directory here, and Terraform init. Okay, the Terraform validate and the main. So now if we come here, this is where the error field, this is where the error came from. We have the validate, and the script we have here is validating shell script and cd. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, this is where the error came from. So now change this to the dollar sign, and without further checking, we'll just commit this first and see what the result will be. So let's commit this. So this is being committed. Would go over to the pipeline and check for um the pipeline process, how this is all. Oh, this is already done. It has already passed. Now we would do the manual provisioning, which is being done right now. It is being going through the process, and after that we'll have the health check. The health check is in progress, and after the health check we would go to the deploy application. Wow, the both of them just passed immediately. Now we are on the test deployment, and the test deployment is done. Okay, so the last stage is the destroy the infrastructure, where we destroy all the infrastructure we've created. So before we do that, the instructions say we should check for the WordPress if it's accessible. So we would go over to our browser. We'll first of all go to our VM to get the public IP for um, the machine before we go to. Let's clear this. Let's clear this. So yeah, so we would get the IP with call if config dot me. So here we have the IP here. So what we'll do now is check for the WordPress in a browser. Let's go over to a browser. Let's go to this one. Voila. So the WordPress is here, and we can actually access it. Yeah, we can actually create our account here. So this is the whole process. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much. I hope to get your feedback. Thank you.